your favorite AOC. So she created her own fund.
Mm-hmm.
Like she just created a fund because she's very grassroots organizer. You know, that's kind of her
She's really good
background.
at that. That's something she's very good at. So,
And I love that she doesn't rely on big money. And I'm hopeful that she will continue. I'm hopeful that she will continue her career doing so. That's kind of her big, feather in her cap is that she doesn't accept corporate funding. She's a grassroots organizer. So she was able to raise, it was like $2 million in a day and get that relief down to Texas. And now people are giving her shit because she's has some photos taken of her, but she's actually there with a mask on, like filling people's trunks with water and groceries. And they're saying she's using this as a photo op. Okay.
mm-hmm.
Here's my thought on that. It's fair to say that as a judgment. Okay. I could recognize where you may think that, but here's the difference. She's there. I mean, it's something, and I'm always, so let me backtrack a little bit. Jim Carrey has something to say about this too.
Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey. So he made a post saying, like, if you're going to do something how dehumanizing is it? That if you're going to give a meal to a homeless person or somebody in need and then shove a camera in their face and take a selfie and post it on your social media for everybody to see that you did a good deed, you're actually just like a piece of shit.
Okay.
And I wholeheartedly, because like how dehumanizing is that?
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to things like, the whole like give somebody, you're in the Starbucks line, pay for the car behind you, like make someone's day. Okay, yeah, that makes somebody's day, but they're already in the Starbucks drive-thru. They can already afford an $8 coffee.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing anything to promote real change.
They were about to get to the window and be like, I'm broke. I've got no money. Give it to me for free.
Thank God that person in front of I was just going out on a limb hoping.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I always take issue. I've always taken issue. And I've had long conversations with a lot of people in our family who overwhelmingly agree with me that if you're going to do something, and even some of our more biblical folks in the family, there's a verse in the Bible that says, if you're going to give to the needy, don't tell your left hand what your right hand is doing.
Mm-hmm. So, that reminds me, I went to, this is so long ago when we were, when we were dragged to church when we were little. I think I went with Bernie or Grandma. I can't remember which one, but there was like a donation thing. And I put in $20. I stole it all. I had $20 left and I was a little kid. So $20 was a lot to me. And I put the whole 20 in. And when we're leaving church, I looked up or whoever I was with. I'm like, do you know how much money I put in? And they're like, no. And if you need to tell me, you shouldn't have done it. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh. It's like, if you did that because you wanted me to praise you, you should not have done it because that's the wrong reason. And that stuck with me. I'm like, yeah, I should have just kept that to myself, I guess. But then really, when I thought about it, the reason I put it in there because I wanted to brag about it later. It's like, so obviously I did it for the wrong reason. I'm a little kid, like, I'm going to say how much money I put. It's like making me look like I'm so generous.
Well, and that's the thing. And I've taken issue when people during Christmas or like, I have a friend in particular who I unfollowed her after this because I just couldn't. Long posts like their beautiful home, and she lines up all these presents and all her kids and says, we're making a new tradition where each one of my kids, and she's not saying my kids aren't getting presents, she's saying each one of my kids has picked out 10 presents for a family in need, and we're going to drop these all off tonight. And it's like, you didn't need to put that on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like people doing things for the wrong reasons. Anyway, back to AOC and the whole thing. I can see how somebody views these pictures on social media as maybe self-serving. Mm-hmm. But at the same rate, as a public figure, I could also see it as encouraging. She's showing like there's work being done. We're doing this work and we're in a state of emergency. And if you could help, it's going to go to good use. So I can see that.
I've got a couple of things on that. So for one, I think there's a fine line between proper promotion and marketing and getting the word out to show your good deed to spread to others to get them to do the good deed. But there is that fine line and you're never going to get it properly because people are going to make a judgment based on you either way. And then, but I think there's like a couple examples. So I'm going to use AOC for this just because we're talking about it. Mm. I don't think that photo ops are bad. I think they're good. But then I think when we run into a problem is one side doesn't want to allow the other side to have a photo op because they get criticized when their side does it. And so they look for these opportunities to say, oh, now look at your side's doing photo op. And
Right.
then, but a photo op, there's different examples. So you have that example of when AOC actually went to do a photo op, which I think was bad, where she went and pretended to be at the cage and
Right.
and pretended to cry for the photo and did the photo op like that. I think that was a PR stunt, in my opinion. But this, if she's actually there helping, boots on the ground, she's doing something, of course.
Literal boots, by the way, like
Yeah,
Timberlands.
like
This I should get some of those. She's a fashion icon.
Purpose for a photo op, right? Like, so I don't think that.
And I'm not familiar with what the other instance that you said, but if that's the case, I mean, I would have taken it that way too, because I take issue to those. There is a fine line, and nobody is ever going to get it right. But what I would compare it to almost, and the media chastising her for it, is at least she's doing something, boots to the ground. She's getting this work done. She's there doing the work. Mm-hmm. Whereas like the photo op of a lifetime that I will never forget, which just disgusts me, is when that church was burnt down in DC, which I don't condone that either. So let's not get it twisted. And Trump took the Secret Service and stood there with the Bible for a photo op when we know that was the photo. I mean, that was for a photo op.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. Actually, that was the one that I was thinking. I was just trying not to bring Trump into it because I didn't want to play us too far. But
that's all. I mean, well, I mean,
he got a ton of flack for that, and I've heard
there's your proof. I'm proving your point that us on the left go, that was despicable, and I can see where people on the right are looking at AOC saying, well, she's, she has time to take these photos for her social media. But okay, we could look at hers as she's like, hey, I'm still raising money. If you can donate $5, donate $5. Here's some pics of what's going on, of real people, Whereas what was to gain from Trump other than for him to brainwash people standing in front of a burned down church holding a Bible? What is that going to entice anybody to do?
Well, it makes me think of when Bush went and did his stuff at the, after the towers were down. And I don't, because the nation was so unified at that time because of what had happened. And I was so young, maybe there was a lot of backlash as and accused of photo op, but I don't know because I wasn't around at the time. But for me, I think that is a photo op that is necessary, saying, we're still standing, we're still here,
right?
You can't beat us.
Well, he got a lot of flack because he was in an elementary school, which I don't think is a bad thing, that dick. He was reading it.
How dare him read to children?
So he was in and now as an educator, so at the time, because I was 18 when that happened, I just turned 18, and I just told my age. So,
I'm going to do some slow math in my head.
Anyway, so he was in a classroom somewhere, and he was visiting that classroom, and he was reading them a story, and Secret Service came in his ear and told him what had happened. As an educator, I think it is so amazing that he sat there and finished that book. And I think as quickly as he could have moved, he moved. But when working, what was he supposed to do? Scare all the children? Holy shit.
So I'm assuming he caught a lot of flack for not leaving right away. Is that?
He did catch flack. And at the time, like I'm saying, I process things differently older. I didn't have a college education then. I'm not saying that everybody needs to have a college education.
Big brain.
But what I'm saying is that you learn critical thinking skills